All right. This is going to be maybe my most booktubey sort of video that I've done for a long time. But I have some thoughts on it. And if you don't know what it is yet, I don't know why you're here, what the topic is. I'm guessing you didn't just click on my face, right? Probably clicked on the topic. And I have some opinions on this. Now, I haven't read through all of the Cosmere. I have read through Mistborn Era 1, still waiting on doing Era 2. I have read through Warbreaker, I've read through Elantris, and I have read through the first two books of the Stormlight Archive. And those are separated in their different sort of series or standalones. I believe that Elantris and Warbreaker are getting uh, extra books in that series, which I am super excited about because those are two of my favorite environments of all the books. Now, there are different reasons why I think you could start with any of these. I truly think so. I started with Mistborn Era 1, and I think if you were looking for something very visually kind of fun and exciting, you want something that will keep your attention. Maybe you haven't read a lot of fantasy like me. That was basically my first intro really to adult fantasy. It's very visual. It has some of my favorite characters. The magic system in book 1 is not what I think a lot of people love this magic system from book 1. I'm more partial to the magic add-ons, I guess you could say, of books 2 and 3. But it's certainly appealing. It would make a great action movie. You can just see in your mind's eye what it would look like. It's very simple to keep track of what's going on. One of my very favorite characters in all of fantasy is from Mistborn, and I think most people would probably say to read Mistborn Era 1, and you could just read the first novel from it as a standalone if you really needed to. But you should keep going because books 2 and 3 are, in my opinion, better than book 1. Okay, so you could go there. Now, you could also go jump in the deep end and go into the Stormlight Archive. Like I mentioned, I did the first two books so far. Decided to put it down until he's closer to being done book 5, and that's when I think I'm going to reread book 1 and 2 and keep going. You could do it. You could start with The Way of Kings if you wanted to. If you were just coming off of watching something like one of these great epics like Game of Thrones or something with a massive cast of characters, and you were committed to, you've heard everything people have said and you don't know if you'll be able to take it all in, just do it. It's a big cast of characters, but if you slow down and just take it all in slowly, I mean, I used slow twice, I think it's just fine. You probably could do that. It just depends on what kind of taste you're going for. Most of the time, like I like this significantly more than Mistborn, even though I loved elements of Mistborn. I just like that this has some of the tone and the gravitas, is that the word? It has the stakes in my opinion are higher in Stormlight. And if you're looking for something that you can really get on the edge of your seat with, I think this could be a great entry if you wanted to. Again, I would still recommend Mistborn Era 1 over that. Now, the last two, you could do either of these as your entry. Now, of the two, Warbreaker is a much stronger standalone, and I loved it. In some ways, Warbreaker reminds me more of something, I mean, it's not as flashy in some ways as Stormlight or Mistborn. In some ways, I got some of the depth of characters where I wanted to, I'm really into the classics, and I'm into some of these other books that maybe aren't so flashy because I'm kind of new to fantasy. This one in Warbreaker, I really got into some of the characters, perhaps more than I did in some ways with the other ones. But that's oversimplifying because there's great characters in the other series as well. But really liked this one. I think if you were looking for a standalone, you wanted to just test out Brandon Sanderson, I would probably say do this one or do Mistborn Era 1. Now, you could do Elantris. You really, really could. Out of all the books so far, out of all the series that he has, I actually like the tone of Elantris more than the other ones. I actually love the world building. I was so intrigued by this city that kind of takes up, it's the namesake city, and I found it actually very, very fascinating. Now the pros and the technical things about it are a little bit weaker, but it doesn't mean the story isn't interesting. And I think it's getting some kind of sequel or something, which I'm looking forward to now, having Brandon Sanderson as a much more seasoned author. I think you could go to this. Now, the reason why you wouldn't is if you are just testing if Brandon Sanderson is your kind of guy. But, well, that's a weird way of saying that. But if you were already committed to getting to Mistborn, you've already heard the hype, to getting to Stormlight Archive, but you just want to get another thing in, if you know you're going to read those anyway, I think you should get this one out of the way. It would be just fine to do so, I think. I sort of had the same approach when I went into Malazan. I had heard the things where you have to at least get to book 3. So in book 1, I thought, okay, I'm going to be really confused, and it's the weakest one, people say. I still really liked it, but yeah, I would agree, having gotten now to book 7, that it was probably the weakest in terms of his writing and all sorts of different factors. But if you are committed to getting through, I think Elantris would be just fine. And that's my take. I don't know. I wonder what you guys have done. I've liked the Cosmere. Oh, actually, Tress of the Emerald Sea. I'm reading that with my daughter as well. I think that one should be thrown into the mix. I am only maybe a third of the way through it. And if you are wanting something that is closest to... If you're wanting something easy, think of The Princess Bride. Something that is, it doesn't have a massive cast of characters. It is by far the most simple to kind of keep on board with. Very short. I'm just reading it with my daughter, so we're going slow. But that one also should be tossed in the mix. But I really do think you could start with practically any of these. It just depends on what you're going for. And if you are looking at this thinking, I want to get through all of this eventually, just don't know where to start, pick one. You're gonna have the same sort of reading experience, in my opinion, regardless of where you start. If you're wanting to just get to all of them anyway, just pick one, and you'll get to them. That's what I did, and I think I could have done any of these, and it would have just been just fine. So that's my take. Talk to you later.